something that we should, the All-Star race. We talked about this last week, just the need for the All-Star race. You've always got the All-Stars running. Do you need the All-Star? Figure that one out. But really, the fight, bringing back memories of the 1979 Daytona 500. Or if not memories, what you read about it. I assume my audience has done some historical research. At 1:30 at SoCon John Hooper. What? You say there's nothing going on in the Southern Conference? SoCon John Hooper is making something happen. In addition to players coming to ETSU and the transfers and the like, in addition to the fact that we are about, minimum 6 weeks away from having a new commissioner, SoCon John Hooper has ranked the best running backs in the Southern Conference, and I think you'll be pleased with them if you're an ETSU fan. There's a little hint. SoCon John Hooper joins me at 1:30. Big news, though, over the weekend, I don't think was the NASCAR race. I don't think that it was Freddie Freeman's bomb to extend the Braves' winning streak to 5. I don't think it was the Rays falling out of first place. I don't think it was the NASCAR All-Star race. I don't think it was the NBA, which I think has gotten boring and predictable. Which I think that, talk about what's the best postseason out there. And really, I know that growing up, a lot of people say, oh, the Super Bowl is always a turkey. You know what? This past year's Super Bowl, 13-3, okay, a lot of people say, oh, too low scoring and all that. I've always said low scoring is close game. I found that a lot of people actually did like the Super Bowl this year because it was close, low scoring, all of that. Look, there's a reason why soccer is taking off in this country, and I keep saying low scoring means close game. We like close games. Sure, it's great if the baseball game is 10-9 and Bill Mazeroski hits a home run in the bottom of the ninth to win the World Series. Sure, it's nice if you have something, the great baseball slugfest. Phillies 23, Cubs 22, 40 years ago. We're approaching the 40th anniversary of that game. Epic! Epic! Don't get me wrong. But usually if you are going to have 45 runs scored in a baseball game, oh my goodness, score is going to be something like 29 to, 16. Well, I saw a 29 to 16 baseball game. That's what you get to. So, it's not really all that dramatic in the bottom of the ninth. I mean, you're looking at it, he could go 5 for 5. That's what you're looking at. It's not necessarily the traditional who's going to win, at the end. And I've always thought that basketball is the worst postseason because, look, it's going to be Warriors. It's going to be Bucks. I mean, and it's a Bucks' first appearance in the NBA championship since 1974. Again, yes, the meek have inherited the earth. The most anonymous franchise in pro sports is now playing for a title. Great. Okay. Yeah. Which, they're entitled to. You're only as strong as your weakest link. I'm not complaining about that. It's just, you're like, I'm supposed to get really excited about Fear the Deer and not laugh at that. Regardless. Like I said, I think the NBA is the most overrated thing in the world. But I thought the big news over the weekend was Peyton Manning. Could he become the Jets general manager? A lot of talk over the years what Peyton Manning could do. Assistant coach at Tennessee. Don't make us laugh. Please. When somebody suggests that Peyton Manning could be an assistant coach at Tennessee, just, so totally beneath him. Orders from Jeremy Pruitt. No. He has evolved so that Phil Fulmer would probably be taking orders from him. Hey, you want some donation money here? Let me tell you what I think ought to happen. Yes, sir, Mr. Manning. That would be Phil Fulmer's role now. It's changed over the last 20 years. Commercial pitchman. Well, he'll always do that. I mean, he'll be Bradshaw. I saw Joe Namath doing ads the other day. Admittedly for an older audience, but, the offers won't be coming as plentifully as they certainly once were when Joe Namath was wearing pantyhose on TV almost a half century ago. I love Peyton Place, that they're going to do this documentary, 100-Year History of the NFL. That's fantastic. We can't wait to watch every episode, but What do you do after that? What about New York Jets general manager? And it is intriguing because great players have become general managers before. John Elway, Ozzie Newsome. But this isn't taking over one's old team. This is taking over a team that Peyton Manning once scorned when he returned to Tennessee for his senior year rather than be selected by the lowly Jets. Maybe the fact the Jets the year before had invested so heavily in free agent quarterbacks Neil O'Donnell and Frank Reich, that was back in '96, the feeling in the Manning compound was that Peyton Manning would have to accept less money if he came out, played for the Jets. Maybe it was the fact Manning was so beloved in Tennessee, and, he was going to win a Heisman Trophy. He was going to win a national championship. Turnkey, right? Didn't work out that way, but that's what you thought in '97 if you were around back then. If you weren't, I'm telling you the tale, because it is definitely something every Vols fan needs to know. At best, the Jets in '97, instead of as beloved as Manning was and still is, you know what it would have been when he came to Hofstra? All right, rookie, let's see what you got. Maybe you wanted no part in Keyshawn Johnson or Bill Parcells. Likely wouldn't have respected his pedigree. Maybe because the Jets were a laughing stock. And the Mannings did not want to relive what Archie Manning went through with the New Orleans Saints. Admittedly, the Indianapolis Colts were not known as being any better of an organization, but the Mannings had no way of knowing in 1997 who would draft him in '98. Plus, remember, the Mannings then basically took over the front office of the Colts when it became apparent that he was going to be drafted. I mean, it was the Mannings who basically pushed Jim Mora, who had known Peyton Manning from his days as a high school player in New Orleans, and they pushed for Jim Mora to be the coach of the Indianapolis Colts. They weren't going to get that courtesy in New York. You know what they were going to get? They were going to get Parcells. And by the way, I think Parcells is football's Billy Martin, and I also think his stock continues to fall. With the Giants, he wins the Super Bowl. Then he decides, you know what? I don't want to rebuild here. The window of opportunity is over. I'm going to go elsewhere. He goes to the Patriots. He goes to the Super Bowl with the Patriots. Great, fine. Now he goes to the Jets. He wins the division with the Jets. Then he goes to the Cowboys. They make the playoffs as a wild card. I mean, if you ever got another head coaching job, it would be they have a winning season. Do you see how it just sort of falls down for Bill Parcells over the course of time? Anyway, I think he went to the Dolphins, and that's basically what they did. They had a winning season, when he went to the front office there. But I remember when Parcells had a number one pick in the draft. It was Drew Bledsoe, and he took the Patriots to the Super Bowl. Yeah, it happened before Tom Brady, boys and girls. And you know what he said when Bledsoe went to the Super Bowl, or during that year in '96? I can remember Parcells sneering, looking, oh, look, the Trapper has a few furs now. Manning was never going to be an icon under Parcells. He was going to be, oh, the Trapper has a few furs now. And that might be why Bledsoe never really quite made it as big as maybe he thought he would have. Anyway, Manning probably didn't want any part of the New York media. It's a polar opposite of what he was receiving in Knoxville and what he would receive in Indianapolis or in a lot of markets. I mean, Manning led the NFL in interceptions his rookie year. Colts struggled to 3-13. You know what they say in Indianapolis when that happens? Well, so what? Maybe he'll come around. It's the Indianapolis Colts, my goodness. What else did they have going for them? You go 3-13 as a rookie, lead the NFL in interceptions. You know what the New York Jets fans would have said? Maybe we would have been better off with Neil O'Donnell, who was hometown and also was not, although ironically, yes, I know a lot of people say the most famous pass he ever threw was an interception. His receiver turned the wrong way on the route. He actually threw it to the right place. Quarterback gets the blame for that needlessly. All right. Look, so O'Donnell's actually, next to Aaron Rodgers, the least likeliest quarterback of all time to be intercepted. So, anyway, if you don't believe that the long knives would have been out for Peyton Manning in New York City, I want you to know that when he decided to stay at Tennessee his senior year, I was listening to WFAN that night. And I'll never forget the caller who called up and called Peyton Manning a spoiled brat. Okay, sour grapes from a Jets fan who wanted Manning to play for. I get it, But still, that's what he would have even walked into had he said, yes, I'm going to forego my senior year and be a New York Jet. Nobody, though, really remembers this. I mean, I'm seeing Mike Florio stating that Manning might have come out if the Jets had assured Peyton he'd been the first pick in the draft. And this is where I go, wait a minute. I know that the Jets were in somewhat of a flux and a chaos. They were going from, Rich Kotite to Bill Belichick to Bill Parcells. They didn't really know the ownership that it was going to be, all this. But here's the deal. The Jets were not going to take, no matter if they retained Rich Kotite, who has the reputation of being the worst coach ever. So that might be debatable. He once took the Eagles to the playoffs, but he was never loved wherever he was coaching. But anyway, the point was, nobody's taking Orlando Pace over Peyton Manning. Nobody's going to trade down to take James Ferrier instead of Peyton Manning. And this was known at the time. I do remember that generation, and some idiot sportscasters wondering, should you take a quarterback in the first round? It was like fantasy football. Yes, you should. Risk reward. Ask the Arizona Cardinals. They're taking a risk reward, but there is reward if Kyler Murray is as good as they say. Baker Mayfield, look at it. That beats, and I've said this a million times, Orlando Pace is as good of a tackle as you'd ever want to have. The St. Louis Rams drafted him. What did they do with Pace initially? They lost. They didn't win until they got the quarterback. Find the lineman, the offensive lineman, in the later rounds. Find the quarterback in the first round. The Tom Bradys are the exceptions to the rule, and they don't happen very often. But here's the deal. Now, Manning can't fail. Spectacular bust as a general manager of the New York Jets, just the way, say, Matt Millen was in Detroit, it wouldn't tarnish his legacy. It'd still be Peyton Manning in Tennessee, in Indianapolis, and in Denver, and everywhere else, except the Jets fans who probably would blame their own organization and think nobody can win here and become fatalists. A Jets fan and a Giants fan is a little different, but in New York City, the Manning name is gold. There's Giants 2 Super Bowls on a team with, I don't know, Y.A. Tittle, Kurt Warner, Phil Simms, a lot of great quarterbacks with the New York Giants over the years, Fran Tarkenton. Manning is probably the all-time Giants quarterback. People might debate that, but I think that, you would probably say yes. Peyton Manning is the all-time Giants quarterback. Anyhow, so if Peyton went to the Jets and failed as a general manager, as I said, it would only be, nobody can win with the Jets. Come on, horrible organization. Peyton Manning can't even win there. Raider Nation. Just because he didn't do well as a GM of the Lions. Now, if Manning succeeds, maybe it won't really. John Elway is John Elway. He didn't have to win a Super Bowl as a general manager or player personnel man with the Broncos. Same thing with Ozzie Newsome and the Ravens. Okay, that didn't really make Ozzie Newsome. But you know what it did do? It satisfied their competitive juices, and they won again. You see why this might be appealing to Peyton Manning? We'll have to wait and see, but it seems to make just a lot of sense, Peyton Manning becoming the New York Jets general manager. Adam Gase, the coach, of course, they made a deal recently after they dismissed their old GM. So, why you listen to 1420 WEMB Sports Radio in the morning? Michael, Avenatti, on Clay Travis, can't miss it, Tri-City Sports Now.